Hey guys, hope you all are doing great. Welcome back to Stalk My Closet. Today I'm sharing 4 different ways to attach piping. So let's get started. First is byStep piping, and for that I have finished round shape buckram neckline and I'm using 1.5-inch wide byStep. Firstly, fold the byStep from one side like this and make a stitch. To make stitch, I'm using contrast color thread so that you can see it properly, but you have to use same color thread. So I made a stitch. Now I'll trim the excess fabric and this is how it will look. Now take the wrong side of neckline and place right side of piping under it like this. Keep little bit of seam allowance on the side and make a stitch on the neckline edge. Don't pull neckline or bias tape, just gently place the piping and make a stitch. So I made a stitch and this is how it looks from the back and this is from the front. Now fold the piping towards the wrong side and this is how it will look. Now I'll make a stitch on the edge of the neckline. Make stitch as close as you can to the piping. So I made a stitch and this is how it looks. Now I need to finish this piping fabric, and for that just hold the buckram and the piping fabric like this and make a stitch all around the neckline. So I made a stitch and with this byStep piping is ready and this is how it looks. Second is underground piping, and for that I have cut out the sleeve and again byStep width is 1.5 inch. I have marked seam allowance line on the sleeve and fold the byStep by half in width and press it with your finger till the other end. Now from the unfold side, I'll make a stitch. I'm just marking to show you the stitch line. This is how close you have to keep the stitch. So I made a stitch and this is how it will look. Now I'll trim the fabric. So this is a final piping. Now I'll place it on this line like this and I'll make a stitch on the stitch line. So I made a stitch. Now fold the seam allowance fabric towards the piping and overlap it depending on how thick you want your piping to be and make a stitch on the edge. So I made a stitch and this is how it will look. Iron it and now fold it towards the back. I'm making basting stitch. You can make the machine stitch or you can do hemming to finish the seam allowance fabric from the back side. So underground piping is ready and this is how it looks. Third is on-fold bias tape piping, and for that I'll cut out the neckline on the bodies. Neck width is 3 inch, neck depth is 6 inch. Again mark neck width point 3 inch and join these points. I'll draw a round shape and I'll cut it out. Again bias tape width is 1.5 inch. Fold the bias tape by half like this and press it with your finger till the other end. Now place the open side of piping like this on the neckline. Match the edges of both piping and neckline and make a stitch. Don't pull bias tape or neckline, just gently place the bias tape and make a stitch. So I made a stitch and this is how it looks. Now keep the seam allowance fabric outwards and fold the bias tape. Press it with your thumb or finger. Fold the piping towards the back depending on how thick you want your piping to be. And make a stitch on the edge of the neckline. Push the inner fabric with your thumb and fold it tightly and make a stitch. So I made a stitch and this is how it will look. So with this, on fold bias tape piping is ready. Fourth is cord piping, and for that I have cut out the sleeve. We'll need cord or dory, and I've cut out the straight piece of fabric 1.5 inch wide. For necklines you need bias tape, but for slits or sleeves where there is no curve, you can cut out straight piece of fabric to use as piping. Place the cord on the bias tape like this towards one edge and overlap the fabric. Now I'll make a stitch as close as I can to the dory, and for that I'm using zipper foot. So I made a stitch and this is how it will look. I'll trim the extra fabric. So I've trimmed the extra fabric. Now I'll fold the other side of the bias tape like this, and I'll make a stitch on this side as well. So I made a stitch and I've trimmed the extra fabric. Now I'll attach it with the sleeve. I've marked seam allowance line on the sleeve. Now I'll place wrong side of bias tape on the right side of sleeve. Take the line as guiding line. Place the piping and make a stitch as close as you can to the dory. So I made a stitch and this is how it will look. Now fold the bias tape towards the wrong side like this, and again I'll make a stitch on the edge of the sleeve. So I made a stitch and this is how it looks. I'll secure this fabric by hemming. If you want, you can also make stitch. So with this, cord piping is also ready. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you like this video. If you have any query, you can ask me in the comment section. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family, and do subscribe my channel for more such videos, and I'll see you soon. Till then, take care. Bye bye.